Rounds go hand in hand with all traditional fighting games, where announcers all across the digital landscape will let you know if the round is starting,
Fight.
what round it is,
Round 3.
if we should be excited about the round,
It's the battle of the century!
or some other random junk.
The ring and the shield clash in the quiet night.
We've got games where you spawn in, do a little dance, and then the announcer lets you proceed with some extreme violence. Whilst with other games, you can walk around and then get yourself stuck in a corner when you're distracted by the scenery. I've never had any clue what I'm supposed to do when the game lets me walk around before the round starts. But once the round does start, it's all hands on deck for a varying amount of time. Now in some games, the round duration seems like an afterthought, as if the producers picked the highest number they could think of and then let it rip. Whilst other games, it feels like an impactful and crucial system. In Tekken, we have 60 seconds to catch that Yoshimitsu, so you better have some new shoes on. In DBZ, well. Now, once we do finally lay down that hurt, we have the round transition. The most bare-bone transition between each round is that the game resets you back to the original location, and we pretend like you just didn't eat that raging demon. It is probably one of the most fairest implementations, as in each round is almost a self-contained battle, except for the meter, but it can feel a bit thematically disjointed. Tekken does a good job of continuing the narrative throughout the round, as if you broke a certain part of the stage or ended up in a new location, you would be spawned in the area where you finished. I like how Mortal Kombat does it, where your character stands back up and tries to shake off the muscle pain, but I do see how you could think it's a bit odd when the game is all about brutality, yet you're nice enough to let them up and have another go. Then we have really crazy games like Killer Instinct. Yeah, you may have won that round with 5% health left, but let's see how long that lasts. This is an interesting idea, as it's just like having 2 health bars or so, and it can help players who go back and forth between rounds seem like the end stats don't look like a complete blowout. The problem I have with this is it does discourage dedicating rounds to information gathering, since you can't just spend one of your health bars figuring out your opponent, since you don't have the extra wiggle room to apply your adaptive strategy. Speaking of rounds, we have 1, 2, 3, and... do we have 4? We do have 4. I love it when team games have just 1 round, since I don't need any more than that if I'm going through 3 health bars. I don't have all day. 2 is very good for slower games, especially when it's 2 zoners in Zone City, but 3 for me is the sweet spot. You can spend a round figuring out your opponent, a round trying out your adaptions, and then a round mashing when you get blown up. Now I understand why all games don't do this, since meter is an important factor, and most of the time it can be sufficiently built up over 2 rounds straight of wins or losses, and it starts to become too much about meter management if it's a best of 5. You want people to be able to manage their meter, but also feel like they can spend it without having to worry about a 4th or 5th round. Now remember how I talked about traditional fighting games? Well, some games have stocks. I don't know much about competitive Smash, but it is interesting that you can mess up so bad that you lose a round from a self-destruct. And because these games don't have rounds, every time you take a stock, they just spawn back into the game. I'm no game designer, but I believe this was due to the fact that they wanted to keep things fast-paced and free-flowing for up to 4 players on the original Nintendo 64 version. Having to stop and have a mini reset every time you took a stock would probably be a little bit too disorientating. Let me know if you think one game would benefit from having a different game's round system. Otherwise, bye.